I'm occasionally asked what I think about Estonia's e-residence program. It's been open for a number of years now. We've been covering it since day one here at Nomad Capitalist. And while the program has attracted a lot of interest over the years, it's also gone through a number of challenges. In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on the e-residence program itself and also the greater issues that I think you need to consider. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson. If you want to learn more about how Nomad Capitalist helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs go where they're treated best by legally reducing their taxes, going offshore, getting second passports, doing all that stuff, learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Now let's talk about Estonia e-residence. I actually have my own Estonia e-residence card. I actually just realized it expired. Got this one a couple years ago. And so before we talk about my thoughts, let's be clear on what Estonia e-residence is. It's not an actual residence permit. It doesn't allow you to live in Estonia. It doesn't lead to citizenship. Someone asked, what about Estonian e-citizenship? We talked about that in a video. No such thing. You're not going to become a citizen. You don't get to live there. None of that. What e-residence was done was to facilitate people digitally being able to access services like taxes and banking and corporate filings in Estonia. And it was designed to bring more entrepreneurs in the digital economy into this small Baltic country. I don't understand why a lot of folks got it. I'm going to walk you through some of my reasons. Now, I got it. It's cool. It's a trinket. It's fun. It's my way to be part of the cool kids. That was something the cool kids were doing a couple of years ago. Oh, we got our Estonia e-residence. Now, let me say, I really respect the government of Estonia. I think they've done a great job. I think they've been forward-thinking. We were in talks with the former president of Estonia, who was looking at, who actually brought this program to fruition about coming to Nomad Capitalist Live. We ultimately now have Mikhail Saakashvili, the president of Georgia, coming. But that shows how I really respect what Estonia has done in wanting to be different, in wanting to make things more efficient, and wanting to make things more accessible. I'm all for them on that. Here's the challenge that you've seen in Estonia, as well as several other countries like Hong Kong. The government's goal of opening things up and opening the country up to new entrepreneurs is not necessarily matched by that of the banks, okay? And so what's happened is this e-residence, which was supposed to allow you to basically open an Estonian company and open your bank account in Estonia and do all your business and file everything without being there. And there's a whole ecosystem of companies, some of which I know the people and they're very nice, but this whole ecosystem opened up to support on that premise where rather than going offshore, the traditional offshore companies, they said, oh, it's expensive and it's confusing, and indeed, it can be. They said, oh, it's so easy in Estonia, just pay this one monthly fee, and it's this kind of very millennial-ish kind of way to start your company. But then what happened was the banks started really turning their nose up at a lot of folks, and they said, well, what's your connection to Estonia? That's a question a lot of banks around the world will ask you when you go to open an account. We're constantly researching banks, and we keep a list of over 1,000 of them. And some of those banks do not require you to have a connection to their country. Okay? We've talked about that in other videos. But in Estonia, being part of the European Union, being that they were getting so much interest from folks, the banks were able to say, well, hold on a second, we don't need all these new customers. Let's be more strict. No, you're a guy living in the United States or Afghanistan or whatever else running your business. Why are you running your business in Estonia? And it became very difficult to the point where a lot of the things that you could do with e-residence just weren't working out. You couldn't open your bank account. The government stuff worked, but even some of the corporate service stuff just wasn't working very well. Okay, and so I think a lot of people now that I've talked to have just kind of gotten away from it. Now, let's step back one step. Besides just having this kind of cool trinket and respecting what Estonia has done in trying to modernize their economy, and if considering their background. You look at how, I think it was Jeb Bush who was talking about, in the United States, we had to be more like Estonia where you can file your taxes in 5 minutes. Look at where Estonia was 30 years ago. That to me exactly makes the point of what we talk about here at Nomad Capitalist. Things are changing. There are new safe havens emerging, and people found out about Estonia, but the problem was what the government wanted to do didn't match what the banks wanted to do. But let's step back, okay? People went out and acted like Estonia was this great, amazing tax haven, and people were promoting it as something that was on par with an offshore company. Now, an offshore company could be any company in a place where you don't live. And so if you live in the United States, if you live in Ireland, if you live in Germany, whatever, then Estonia technically is a foreign corporation. But is it the most tax efficient corporation? I think a lot of people got sucked in because of the cool ecosystem where it seemed really easy. And yes, ease of operation is important. You know, one of the people ask, you know, Andrew, why do you talk to 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs? I said, because at the 5-figure level, a lot of the things that we do in our business for folks, it just isn't cost efficient. You know, if you're making $80,000 a year and your tax bill is, you know, $18,000 a year, the things that work for a guy making, you know, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $10 million a year, it's not worth it. You'd rather just pay the 18 grand. And so in a sense, the ease of operations in Estonia was okay. Estonia does have a 20% tax rate. However, you can defer that tax until you actually take the money out. That works for certain people. And one time in the entire history of our business have I recommended an Estonian company for someone, and we actually went and set it up. It served a very specific need involving tax treaties and IP and different stuff. Very specific need. And the guy was not planning on making huge profits. It was not going to be a big cash cow business potentially, and we had an entire thought process for recommending Estonia. That was back in early 2017. And so it's been years since I've ever recommended Estonia, because if you need a European Union country for some kind of tax treaties, or you're doing some kind of business in the EU, there are better options for most businesses with lower rates that also have good ecosystems that may not be as sexy, they may not be as digitized, but you're going to pay less, and that's probably worth it. Most folks, I don't think, even need a European Union company. When I look at most of the folks that come to us, who are doing business online, or who are doing consulting, or who are doing anything that's location independent, a lot of those folks, you know, very rarely do we need to have some kind of company in the European Union. And so, you know, for me, why defer tax when you can just eliminate it entirely, or when you can lock in some kind of low, very low tax rate and just pay it now and be done? And so for most folks, again, I'm speaking largely to the 6-figure, 7- and 8-figure levels, I just haven't found Estonia to be the best place to incorporate. And that's, I think, where people got tripped up a little bit, was they saw e-residence, they saw this whole kind of sex appeal of Estonia, and then said, great, how do I get in, and how do I tweak the e-residence to work? How do I tweak the banks to suit what I'm trying to do? Rather than asking, well, hold on, you know, what's the best jurisdiction? I understand, you know, I do business in Asia. I have companies and banks where if I want to make a change, I just had to reset my online banking the other day. I had to print out a form, sign it, send it back. I get that's a pain, but is it worth paying tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars more to avoid having to print out a one-page form, sign it, take a picture of it on your phone, and email it to them? And I think that's what you have to ask yourself. You know, why do you need a company in Estonia? When you have the whole world open to you, the e-residence is cool, but it probably shouldn't be dictating where you're banking on a personal level, on a business level, or where you're setting up your company. I think a lot of folks got into Estonia without respect to what I call my tax-friendly quadrant. They probably weren't setting up their structures perfectly. They weren't solving their personal tax issues. Those are all the questions that you need to ask. It's not all about just the card. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.